She begged him to forget her, but he gave her family a new life instead. The storm rolled heavy across the valley, dark clouds pressing low over the ridgeline as though the heavens themselves were unwilling to forgive the day. Emma Carter clutched her shawl tighter around her shoulders, her eyes fixed on the dirt road where a lone rider moved steadily toward the small, broken farmhouse. Her heart knew the silhouette before her mind accepted it. Broad shoulders, a firm posture, and the familiar way he guided his horse, it could only be him. Daniel Hayes. The man she had once loved more fiercely than life itself, the man she had walked away from for reasons too tangled, too painful to explain. Emma's chest tightened. She wanted to run, to shut the door, to keep her children safe behind the walls she had patched with her own hands. But her feet refused to move. "Ma!" whispered Lily, her eldest, just 12 years old. She stood beside her, her braid messy, her face thinner than it ought to be for a child her age. "Is that him?" Emma nodded faintly. "Go inside, Lily. Take your brothers." Lily hesitated. She remembered him too, the man who had brought laughter when times were hard, who had once swung her up in his arms when she was just a little girl. But she obeyed, pulling little Tom and Henry into the cabin while Emma braced herself. Daniel dismounted slowly, his boots hitting the earth with a thud. He tied the reins loosely to the fence post, though the post leaned sideways, barely holding together. His sharp eyes took in every detail, the peeling boards, the empty woodpile, the way the smoke from the chimney carried thin, as though the fire inside was too weak to warm the home. "Emma," he said at last. Her name on his lips was both a wound and a balm. She forced herself to meet his gaze, though it nearly unraveled her. His eyes were the same as they'd been years ago, steady, unwavering, holding both questions and answers. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. Her voice cracked against the wind. He took a step closer, closing the space between them as naturally as water flowing downhill. "And yet, here I am." Emma's throat burned. "Daniel, I told you years ago, I begged you, forget me. Forget us. It was the only way. And I tried," he said softly. "God knows I tried. But tell me, Emma, how am I supposed to forget the only woman I ever loved? The only children I ever wanted to claim as my own?" Her chest heaved. She looked away, toward the brittle garden that had yielded barely enough food for winter. Toward the roof where holes still gaped from last summer's storm. Toward the horizon where hope seemed always out of reach. "You don't know what you're saying," she whispered. "I know exactly what I'm saying," Daniel replied. "And I know what I see." His gaze shifted to the cabin where Lily's small hand peeked nervously through the curtain. "You're barely making it through each day. You're carrying too much. Emma, you and those children deserve more." Her hands trembled at her sides. "Don't pity me." His jaw tightened. "This isn't pity. It's love." The word cracked something inside her. Tears filled her eyes, and she turned away before he could see them fall. "Daniel, you don't understand. When John died—" "I was there, Emma," he cut in, his voice low but fierce. "I saw how they treated you after. His family, the town, they all abandoned you. But I never did. You pushed me away." "I had to," she cried, finally meeting his eyes again. "Don't you see? You deserved better. You deserved a woman without a past, without baggage, without children who weren't your own." He shook his head slowly. "No. I deserved you. All of you. And I would have given my life to carry that burden if it meant keeping you safe." The storm broke then, a heavy rain beginning to fall, drumming against the roof and soaking through Emma's shawl. Still they stood, unmoving, locked in the current of old pain and new longing. Inside the cabin, Lily pressed her ear to the door, clutching her brothers close. "That's him," she whispered. "He came back." The fire rekindled. That night, Daniel stayed. Not because Emma asked, but because the rain was too fierce and the roof too fragile. He built the fire higher, using wood from his own pack, and the cabin glowed warm for the first time in weeks. Emma sat silently, her hands busy mending Henry's shirt by lamplight, though her eyes drifted often to the man across the room. Daniel spoke little, but his actions filled the silence, repairing a broken chair, sharpening the dull axe, stirring the stew so the children could eat more than thin broth. When the little ones were asleep, Emma finally whispered, "Why are you doing this?" He looked at her steadily. Because I can't stand by and watch you suffer. Not when I can help. Her needle stilled in her hand. And when the storm passes, will you leave again? Daniel's jaw flexed. Do you want me to? Her heart clenched. The truth warred with fear. Yes, she whispered, though it tasted like poison. Because if you stay, I'll only hurt you again. He leaned forward, his voice firm. No, Emma. You can't push me away this time. I came back because I couldn't live with myself knowing you and the children were starving while I had land, cattle, and a home big enough to share. I came back because I never stopped loving you. Her lips parted, but no words came. He reached across the small space and took her hand gently, calloused fingers warm against her trembling ones. You begged me to forget you, he said softly. But I couldn't. Instead, I made a vow to give you and your family a new life, whether you let me into your heart again or not. Tears spilled freely now, unchecked. Emma bowed her head, unable to bear the weight of his kindness. Why, Daniel? Why would you still care after everything? He tilted her chin up gently, forcing her to meet his gaze. Because love doesn't vanish, Emma. It grows stronger in the waiting. A new dawn. The storm passed by morning, leaving the air fresh and the earth glistening. Daniel was already outside when Emma stepped onto the porch, her shawl pulled tight against the cool air. He had repaired the fence, stacked wood high against the wall, and even fixed the door that had hung crooked for months. The children ran happily around him, their laughter rising into the clear morning sky. Emma watched, her throat aching. For the first time in years, she saw her children smile without shadow, without hunger dimming their eyes. Daniel noticed her and walked up, wiping his hands on his shirt. The barn needs work, but I can fix it. And the soil here, if we start now, you'll have a proper harvest by summer. She shook her head, tears glistening. Daniel, I can't ask you to do all this. You didn't ask, he said gently. I chose to. Her heart broke all over again, not from pain, but from the fierce, undeniable love that still bound them. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. I don't know if I can give you what you deserve. I'm not the woman I once was. He reached for her, pulling her into his arms at last. You're the only woman I've ever wanted. Broken or whole, past or future, it doesn't matter. What matters is now. And now I choose. The children's laughter rang out, the sun rose high, and for the first time since John's death, Emma felt the weight lift from her shoulders. She was no longer alone. She had begged him to forget her, but instead, Daniel gave her family a new life. And perhaps, in time, he would give her heart a home again too.